Hello everyone, this is Fi. I'm checking out angel.project. This is a game I've not played before. We're going to give it a playtest and see if we can give some useful feedback. Got the game page open here. It says a proof of concept stages still. A small group of androids are in an endless war with some other mechanical hive mind. Fly around, use your shield to reflect projectiles, overload your systems, and enter into overclock mode, essentially bullet time, to wreak havoc. Be wary though, you'll take double damage in the process. For now, there's a couple of weapons you can switch through, a couple of basic enemy types, and 3 characters to choose from, each with their creepy synthesized voice lines and appearance. Enjoy and let me know what you think. Alright, so I don't know much about this game. It looks like some kind of 2D shooter, omnidirectional. Let's get rid of that overlay. Alright, so I'm not seeing anything past the screen. I do notice it's in borderless windowed mode, which means there's going to be some input lag. Let's see what's on the screen here. Press space to begin, WASD to move, right mouse button to fire, left mouse button for shield. That sounds backwards. Space to overclock. 1 to switch weapon. Enter to switch character. Okay, I wonder why you would use 1. Like, I can understand if you're going to use the different, like, the number keys, like 1, 2, 3, 4 for different weapons, like, you know, the old school FPS style. Just the 1 key though, it's kind of weird. It's kind of a little out of reach. I mean, not literally out of reach, but you have to reach for it. But yeah, I guess go ahead and press.
Unit is ready for action.
Okay, couldn't really quite understand that. All right. Okay. Alright, so just observing at this point. Oh. Wait a minute.
Mission failure.
Okay. I guess it looks like up at the top here where it says armor, that's your health up there. Alright, so interesting so far. There's a bunch of things I noticed. I want to see if there's... Alright, escape key doesn't do anything.
Mission failure. This combat unit is ready for action.
Okay. Unfortunately, there's no pause. Oh, there's some kind of a shield there. Oh,
Critical. High potential for mission failure. Mission failure.
Okay. I know it sounds like I'm just not saying anything and just killing myself over and over again. Yeah, it's really hard to like actually play this and talk at the same time. Unfortunately, there's no pause, so I can't really do much about that. But so a few things I noticed. The aiming is bizarre. It's some it looks like there's kind of a couple different elements layered here. It doesn't just shoot where you point. It looks like there's some kind of a little lagging thing behind, and I guess I think if you're moving and shooting, because there's a travel time of the bullets, it kind of looks like it's not going towards the reticle, even if it actually is. But it's not the mouse reticle. It's like this little secondary one that kind of lags around. So it's kind of weird that you can't shoot exactly where you point the mouse. I guess that's gonna make it, you know, less responsive, in a sense. Other things I noticed, there's a lot of inertia, which for an omnidirectional shooter is maybe not as bad as like a kind of a traditional scrolling shoot 'em up type of game, but the amount of inertia is quite a bit, so I would suggest toning that down. It just makes your movement input a lot more responsive, makes it a lot quicker to change directions. It's very strange when you get hit, everything slows down, and at first I thought it was just me that slows down, because like all of a sudden you just slowed it, like you almost can't move when you get hit. But I did notice it seems like the whole game kind of slows down. So I don't know if that's intended to be like sort of like a bullet time kind of effect. I mean, you mentioned the bullet time type of thing on the page, but I didn't think it was just getting hit. Let me look at the page here real quick. Use your shields to reflect projectiles, overload your systems, and enter into overclock mode to wreak havoc. See, it doesn't mention like pressing a button or anything. And this page, I mean, the game screen itself, it doesn't mention... Oh, space to overclock. I guess that's what that is. Alright, so I don't know what the effect is, but it feels like it almost makes it so you can't move when you get hit, and then what it feels like is there's so many other bullets that it's like you take a hit and then all of a sudden like all the other bullets just start running into you. And it's kind of annoying, like if you get punished multiple times for one mistake, that can be really frustrating. There's no, that I could tell, invincibility when you get hit, which might be a nice thing to have. So yeah, it's kind of bizarre the way it feels when you get hit. I'm not actually sure like if everything slows down the same amount, because it for whatever reason it feels like the player character slows down a lot more than like everything else slows down somewhat, but it's like, yeah, it almost feels like you can't move for a few seconds there.
Combat unit is ready for action.
You can try actually playing here. Yeah, it's kind of weird the way it lags. And I think it might lag more if you're holding the button. It's a little hard to tell. Maybe not, I don't know. Alright, so spacebar I can't use until this charges up at the bottom here. I guess you get that by killing things. Oh gosh. Yeah, the bullets that you're firing are a bit on the slow side, so you end up in this situation where you're trying to aim at people, especially when it's combined with this weird aiming effect, which...
Mission failure.
I don't know what happened there. Anyways, I guess I died. I didn't see anything hit me at the very last moment there, but yeah, with the bullets being a bit slow, it makes it so that you can end up in that situation where you're like trying to aim at something and your bullets keep just kind of trailing behind them, and you're like constantly trying to update where you're aiming, but it's still like they're not getting to the target fast enough. So that's another thing that you can adjust to make it feel more make the game feel more responsive to your input, is making the player bullets nice and fast. The enemy bullets are quite fast themselves, and it makes it so it's between the speed of them and the volume of them, it's very difficult, and you know, the player inertia doesn't help any in that regard. It's very difficult to like actually dodge them by doing anything other than just like circling, or you know, trying to make like a big circle around everything so you never stop moving, that kind of thing, which isn't very fun in my opinion. I like to be able to dodge between the bullets and that kind of thing more.
Combat unit is ready for action.
But yeah, considering how slow it is to like change directions. Okay. So yeah, when that slowdown happens when you get hit, it doesn't... You would think that it would offer you some kind of a benefit, but it doesn't really give you any benefit at all because you can't move. Like, the inertia and the slowdown and everything together, it makes it so you just like... You're basically just watching what's happening, you can't really respond to it. Are these bullets... Oh. Oh, what the heck is that? There's something really weird going on with the player bullets. I don't know if like you can steer them a little after you fire them. It's like they don't go straight in a straight line, I don't think. Or there's something I'm imagining, maybe. Maybe it's me changing directions or something. It's really confusing. Oh my gosh, they're so slow. But yeah, like as far as I can't pause it, I forgot. As far as the maneuvering and stuff, like I mentioned, it's pretty much just going in circles. You can't really respond to this kind of mass of bullets in any other way. So, and just getting my shots to actually go towards the direction I want to is very problematic. So as far as the camera goes, with this kind of game where you're not moving in the direction you're shooting. Like you're probably moving perpendicular while you're circling. Potentially you could be moving away and wanting to shoot behind you, but the camera doesn't follow that logic really, because it prioritizes the direction you're moving, which is not going to be where you're shooting in all likelihood. So I would consider changing that. You can have the camera pan more towards where you're pointing the mouse. I think that would be more reasonable for this kind of gameplay. Interesting. I wonder why they group up and then all of a sudden they fly apart. I don't know if it's like some impulse from an explosion or something. My hitbox isn't very forgiving. These bullets are, of course, very tight together. So like even if I had enough maneuverability and reaction time to actually squeeze between bullets, it's like my hitbox isn't really small enough to allow that kind of thing. So that's definitely something I like to see in any shmup, is some nice small hitboxes so that I can do some proper dodging between stuff. Still don't really understand how the bullets work. I don't think the overclock thing has ever actually filled up since I've been playing. Trying to compensate for the kind of wonkiness of the shooting by shooting like leading a lot. Ouch, did I just... Okay. Unfortunately with this kind of game also, you can't really watch yourself very well. Okay. That was kind of annoying because I actually bounced off this wall and like went back up into where the bullets were. You saw there's like a stream of bullets kind of coming diagonally like this. And I kind of wanted to like go down and then this way, but I kind of went down and like boinked right up into where I got hit by them. So that might be something worth addressing also, is that bounciness off the wall here. You could definitely make it a more traditional sort of wall where you just kind of hit it and stop, that kind of thing. Prevent that kind of thing. And what was I saying prior to that? I forgot.
Combat unit is ready for action.
I don't know, I was totally saying something, but hey, it's gone now. Oh, I remember what I was saying. So, oh, this is pretty loud. I'm gonna turn it down a little so I can hear myself talk. Hopefully it's not too awful in the capture. But, so in this type of game, you can't really pay attention to yourself and where you're aiming at the same time. It's kind of a consequence of the game style. So unfortunately that can make, oh my gosh, that can make dodging things problematic, because you end up in these situations where you're moving around and you're trying to shoot at something, and then all of a sudden you get hit and you didn't even see anything that could have hit you. Just a little unfortunate. It's hard to do much about that unless you have like something really specific, like you know, if it was like a 1v1 kind of situation. But if you want to have like a lot of enemies and bullets on the screen, then it's hard to completely prevent that. But I think if you were to make some of the changes that I've been suggesting, like making the enemy bullets slower, making the hitbox a little smaller, I just ran into that, that kind of thing, but at least make that not as troublesome with like I mentioned before, just the volume of enemy bullets and the speed of them. Just flying everywhere, you're pretty likely to end up getting whacked by something, whereas if they're pretty slow, you have a lot more opportunity to like notice that something is coming at you, and then you can make kind of a conscious choice to move your attention back and forth between where you're pointing your weapon and looking at the player itself if you want to like actually dodge something. You know, you can move your attention back and forth like that, but in this the way the gameplay is here, you don't really have an opportunity to kind of switch back and forth like that, because like everything's going so fast. You're constantly kind of fighting with where you're aiming, and like I mentioned, with the speed of the bullets and everything, you don't have a lot of chance to react to anything, so when you do get hit or whatever, it kind of tends to feel like it just was something you didn't even see whatsoever, and then it'd be kind of annoying. So I forget about this thing. Okay, I was just thinking about this overclock thing. I haven't actually used that yet. I don't think I've seen it ever fully charged. Okay, so the one key does change to this. Again, it's laggy. That's pretty annoying in my opinion, but this kind of weapon, you can almost understand why it might lag a little bit, just so that it doesn't... I mean, there's some kind of potential for weird stuff to happen with being able to move it around instantaneously, I suppose, but... I think the bullets are inheriting inertia from whomever fires them, which makes the bullet speed very inconsistent, which is something I would consider changing. Suggest changing, probably. I would definitely prefer to see the bullets being a consistent speed. It just makes the gameplay more consistent. And the weird thing I'm noticing is that, like, when you blow up one of these guys, the explosion kind of launches the rest of them all over the place, and a lot of times you end up launching a bunch of them like towards you, and then they start like shooting at you at the same time, and it's kind of crazy to see where you like you blow up an enemy, and then it's just all of a sudden there's like all this stuff just flies into you. Alright, so... Oh, the shield is on... is the number 2 at the top left here. So yeah, I mean, I'm not paying that much attention to actually trying to play well or anything. I'm noticing the HUD is not really helping me at all. I can kind of glance up the armor, that kind of thing. But while I'm playing, I don't really feel like I have any opportunity to like actually look at any of these things. So... something to point out. It seems to be trying to give you some kind of useful information, but I haven't found much use of it. I haven't even looked at this map. I don't think I've even like put my eyes directly on it since I started doing this playtest. Looks like it could be pretty useful. But yeah, I mean, there's stuff you can do sometimes to like put HUD elements kind of in the center, you know, like around the character, around the reticle, that kind of thing. That can be useful sometimes, but on the other hand, it's not always necessary to see this stuff all the time. Sometimes it's okay if you're in like a quiet moment to just kind of, you know, update yourself on different things.
Hostile neutralized. Hostile neutralized. Hostile neutralized.
So another thing is the enemies just kind of shoot continuously. There's not any real pattern to like how the bullets are coming out. In my opinion, that's not very interesting, and it's also can be a little problematic because there's just no gaps in the timing whatsoever to kind of do anything there. Oh gosh. So yeah, if you're trying to move around and then there's just like an enemy that's kind of off screen, that's just like you're moving directly towards, and then all of a sudden you run into him and his bullets, it's kind of annoying, but part of that is the camera, I think. Well, potentially, but I guess if you changed it like I suggested, it would probably still be a problem. But yeah, if there's if the enemies are just constantly like fully automatic fire, that kind of thing, then you don't really have any of those moments where you can kind of move around and like anticipate when they're going to shoot at you next, that kind of thing. Like even if they're shooting fairly regularly and putting a lot of bullets on the screen or whatever, it can be nice to have, you know, little bursts of weapon fire or whatever. Oh, I thought I was dead. It just creates like sort of a pacing to the game, whereas right now you're just kind of like I mentioned before, you're just kind of constantly circling. So I think that's sort of a first step to creating more interesting enemies to work with, is those kinds of things, you know, going beyond just shoot bullet every half second kind of thing. And I don't know, should I keep playing? I haven't used this thing. I haven't really used the shield at all. I have to get a feel for how often it comes back, because I can't like look up at the top left there. And obviously just not using it is not going to do me any favors for actually, you know, progressing in the game. But again, a lot of the times I've just noticed that when I did get hit, it was just like I didn't expect to, so you can't really react to that kind of thing. But there were other situations where there's just like a wall of bullets and I could have at least tried to use the shield. So yeah, that was, both of these situations wouldn't have happened if I had less inertia on my movement. Oh my gosh. Oh, I right-clicked, but it didn't work. What is he saying? I can't understand the wording half the time, so yeah, that was weird because I definitely right-clicked and the shield didn't pop up. I don't know if it was like it could have been just the very moment after I took a hit and then it just doesn't work when you're like in a damaged state or something, or it was whatever else. I couldn't understand what it was saying. It was saying something else when I was right-clicking, and I don't know if it was saying it like I can't use the shield right now or something. But yeah, there's definitely been more than one case where I just I took damage simply for no other reason than the fact that I couldn't move fast enough because of the inertia. Interesting. So using the deflector shield does also like add an impulse on the player character. I I don't know what that said. Which is interesting. I mean, it looks kind of cool, but it also could, I could imagine a situation where it like pushed you into some other bullet and caused you to get hurt. You know, that didn't seem to reflect anything. I don't know how big the reflector shield is. Maybe it's a lot smaller than the visual effect there. Yeah. Okay, so it's like really close. There's this little. Okay, so there's a little line in front of you. I guess whatever the big ring is on the outside is just to be ignored, and I guess you also have to aim. Okay, so I got the overclock finally. Okay, so I expected a lot more of an effect when I slapped the overclock there, but I slapped it and then like I immediately ran into a bullet that was coming towards me. But yeah, again with the inertia makes it really terribly sluggish for, you know, just suddenly moving. And if you stop moving, you can't. It just takes so long to get into a state of full speed again that it's like you probably shouldn't even just stop moving at all. It's too dangerous, and that kind of feels unfortunate. But if nothing else, I want to try using the shield a little more. Interesting. So it does stay out for a few frames, that's good. Did I? Wait. Okay, so when you when you click the fire button, it doesn't fire. You have to hold it for like a moment, or else it just doesn't do anything. I don't know why that would be the case. It just it just makes it less responsive. I'm not really sure. I'm sure there's some kind of thought process that went into making it that way, but it seems a little annoying. It looks so bad. Oh gosh. Ah! Yeah, see, when you try and move and then you just have all that inertia and it just doesn't, you don't go anywhere. Like trying to move between. Okay, I kind of tried to use the shield at the last moment there, but I just didn't have enough reaction time. Embarrassing aim Okay, so there's a text down here. It says something embarrassing aim requires future calibrations. I don't understand why it says that. Okay. Why? Okay, so I think when the slowdown happens, I think it might slow down like the whole game, including your cooldowns and stuff. So it kind of threw off my timing with the shield. I tried to activate the shield again, but I guess it was just in cooldown. Oh, and it looks like I put my shield in cooldown when I took a hit, even though I didn't use it. It does. Oh my gosh. That's interesting. like spamming. See, that's exactly the moment when I'd want to use the shield the most, and it's designed apparently to not be usable in that kind of situation. So I'm like spamming the right mouse button, and it just doesn't work. That's kind of too bad. But yeah, it's definitely frustrating when you start getting punished over and over again for a single mistake. That's like kind of a worst case scenario for action games, I think. You know, you get hit once, it's kind of a big deal, but then like when you just start uncontrollably getting smacked by like all these other things while you're in this, you know, damaged state, then it starts feeling really out of your control. It's can be pretty frustrating. Anyways, I should probably wrap this up. You know, I think there's a lot of potential for fun with this kind of stuff. All of the criticisms I have are things that could be really easy to fix. It's just kind of a matter of, you know, having a sense about it and knowing what to kind of aim for with how you tune things. And this is all based on my experience and opinions, of course, but I think all those things I mentioned could help to make this a lot more fun and exciting, probably. But yeah, I think it's nice to have... I'm assuming there's probably more than just 2 enemies. I'm looking at the game page here real quick. I thought it mentioned something. There's a couple of basic enemy types. 3 characters to choose from. I didn't see any characters to choose from. I don't know what that's about. But, I tried pressing enter before. It doesn't seem to do anything, so I don't know what that's about. But, yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up. The voice is really weird. It's very hard to understand. But hopefully you found it useful. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video.